First, there's a social media shakeup happening, and there's a lot of discussion on both sides of the coin, really, whether it's appropriate or not. Second, we have far too many freelancers in the Republican Party, and honestly, it's really, really irritating. Additionally, it's become abundantly clear that the only way out of the war with Iran is actually forward, and we've been told that if we don't do it, probably others will. And what does that mean? Well, you're about ready to find out. How stupid do people really think our military is? You would think that would be a simple answer to that one, but it's not. It's wild what they think. Let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome to the Ripple Effect. So first off, there's a multi-million-dollar settlement that happened over social media. It actually ended up hitting Meta and YouTube as the two that were in this, and then of course they're going to be appealing it, so we'll see how well that goes. But it's about the addictiveness of social media to young people, and specifically children, and what can we do and what should be done with regards to the whole system and the problem that we're running into. And honestly, there's both sides of this. So basically, there's a young lady who sued because I guess she got addicted to social media when she was like 6 or 9. I've heard conflicting stories on it, but she was addicted to it, right? And she used it as kind of an escape to get away from her family because her family was so horrible that she needed some kind of way to get out of that life. And she blames her mental problems now on social media. The problem that I'm kind of running into here is that it's kind of like there is a responsibility, obviously, with the parents or with adults in the lives of a young person, right? But at the same time, is there a responsibility with these algorithms? For example, on YouTube, I've turned off on my personal account. I turn off the autoplay. Like, I do not want autoplay. I specifically don't want autoplay because it gets you in that loop of just watching and watching and watching and watching. What I do is I watch a video that I want to watch, right? And then I don't let it just go to the next one of whatever it chooses to give me. I choose if I'm going to watch another video or if that's a good stopping point. Now, I think removing autoplay would be for people that were under the age of 18 would be a fantastic thing, not even allow it to be an option. The problem that they're running into is how do you control how old someone is on your platform? Because you can ask them, but they can just lie. Like, I remember back in the day, I got on eBay before technically I was old enough to get on eBay because you can just lie and put in your date however you want. So what's to control that from their perspective? The other side of the thing too is there's a lot of question as to what kind of content gets pushed on social media. For example, my content is pushed sometimes and sometimes not. If you look at the analytics, it's very weird. But in places like TikTok, I've heard, and I don't know, I cannot confirm this, but I've heard that if you click educational in your video, right, as your channel, they have a higher likelihood of actually being pushed than a lot of other sources because they're trying to, at least somewhat, in some ways, do educational content more. But the problem is, it's a business model. They need you to be addicted to it. It's like the people that want you to drink Coke. They don't sit there and get the fattest dude in the world to come out and drink. Oh no, they do, because they do the Christmas ones. Stink. That's Santa. Oh no, I'm just kidding. But they don't make it unappealing, right? It has to be appealing for you to want to buy their product. So at the same time, all these social media companies are doing the same thing. They want you to buy their product, so they have to make it appealing such a way that you want to watch more, you want to see more, you want to consume more content. Could the algorithms push more educational, good, useful stuff than just straight social media garbage? Probably. How they do that, I don't know. But again, are we going to legislate that? I don't know how you would. And if you do, is it going to be a situation like they did with the smoking? There's one that everyone's bringing up as an example is tobacco, and how tobacco made it look so wonderful and so amazing and so just delightful that all these children wanted to get into it, and that's why we had such a problem with tobacco until lawsuits started happening and they had to change how they were advertising for it. Should we do that? Should we change how they can advertise? I don't know. But on the other side of the coin is the fact that when you have social media as such a heavy part of your life, it really does affect your mental state. And they're talking about even gaming. They say that a point in which a young man starts to game is a mental state where his brain can lock in and stop growing. If he's like a gamer kid, not just like a kid that just plays games occasionally, I'm talking about really, really gaming. And unfortunately, a lot of young people do. So there's a lot of research that needs to go into this. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be dived into on this because we don't know where we're sitting with this whole situation. And I can see both sides of the coin being like, well, what do you want us to do? We are supposed to be desirous for you because that's the whole point. They want you to click the next video so they can get the views, but maybe they can tweak the algorithm in such a way that it helps and makes it beneficial. I don't know. Now, Nancy Mace, one of literally my least favorite Republicans that we have, comes out of a top secret briefing and immediately begins to tweet. Immediately begins to run her mouth. Now, I already have my disgust with Nancy Mace because she's a victim of abuse and all kinds of stuff, but she won't let it go. It's not like I'm a victim of abuse and that's sad and she tells her story. It's like, if she can pull that card out, she will. I mean, again, I've not experienced that, so I don't know. Am I being too harsh? But it does seem to cross the edge a little bit too much where you're constantly pulling it out for almost self-victimization so you can get more and more attention. So she's got to have attention. She loves attention. Again, probably part of her abuse or trauma. And she has to just mouth off and say something. She has to. And this is not just her, but she's the most famous one that did it. A lot of other ones did the same thing. They come out of these briefings and they're just like, oh, well. They use it to like almost immediately undercut all the top secretness of the top secret meeting that was going on. And this is a major problem going into the midterms and 2028. The major problem is that there are just too many freelancers. The Republican Party is extremely now famous for freelancers. They just go off and do their own thing, and they don't realize we live and die as a party. Like, yes, we want people to have independence, but at the same time, if you're constantly undercutting your fellows, if you're constantly undercutting your party, that is not, and the president of your party, that is not going to help at all. I mean, it might help you in your election, and if it's all about selfishness, then you shouldn't be in politics. I mean, politics literally is to help the people. That's the whole point. I know all politicians take it as great opportunities to stuff their pockets, but it shouldn't be that way. And you really get the feeling that the Republicans are in it not that they're in it to win it for themselves, not for the togetherness, right? You never get the feeling that they're together in it, and that they use it every chance that they get to attack their fellows as like a moment of self-righteousness or self-importance in their little crusades that they have. And it's got to go. We've got to have a united party because the left is trying to destroy us. And they're doing a great job of doing it. If we continue to be so separated, we will never have the strength and the ability to coalesce around anyone to continue doing good things like our president has. And Nancy Mace is just one of the worst of them. Now, how is the war progressing in Iran? Or rather, should I say military action? Because again, Trump is trying not to say war because that would require, congressional approval. But it's also very, very clear that there is no way economically for us to get out of this military action without going through, without completing the task. And what's crazy is that we have to have the utter defeat of the mullahs to actually make this possible for us to economically recover from this war. And even the CEO of BlackRock was saying the same thing, that there's no way but through. Once we've started this battle, this whatever you want to call it, military action, there is no way for us to withdraw now at any point without completely and utterly taking them over. Not us physically and like doing it, but like basically like Venezuela, either changing the regime dramatically through replacement of the leadership such that they listen to us, or complete and utter removal of all the mullahs, which again would be my choice on that, because the moment we decide that we're done, and the problem is Americans are pathetic. Americans are so pathetic. I'm not just saying, you in particular. I'm saying in general, we as Americans are so pathetic. We have no long-term understanding of anything. I'm talking about just this. I'm talking about economics, I'm talking about militarily, and talking about our relationships with other countries like China and Russia and so on. And we've seen it happen over and over again where we shoot our own selves in the foot because we just can't stop pity-partying ourselves and don't have the patience to see it through the temporary troubles and the temporary problems that we face. Now, so the moment we pull out, whether by pressure from the people of America or by winning, if we do it by the pressure and we leave them in power, the Strait of Hormuz is over. They will have realized, and they kind of already think this, that they can control everything. Not only can they hold it hostage for a time, they can hold it hostage indefinitely, because they'll know that that is the choke point for everything, and they can control us just that easily. And this is why they have to be defeated, guys. There is no retreat here. There's no other option. So all these other idiots like Nancy Mace and so on just need to calm down and join in the battle and get it over with. And then you can have all the conversations about how you think it should have been appropriate and all that. I don't care. Have them then. Let's get over it and get through it. And now we've got to deal with it and be done with it. Now, lastly, we hear about how we're losing the war, right? Constantly there's this propaganda coming from Iran that we're losing the war, or you hear about how there's things that we were just unexpected. We weren't prepared for. Our military was not ready for Iran's might. And just, I mean, they even have videos of like our aircraft carriers getting hit and stuff like that. And it's not true at all. But we have to understand, and I think people forget this so much, Iran is not a peer-to-peer enemy. They are not on level with us at all. In fact, probably the only peer-to-peer right now is China. That's a peer to us. Why would anyone ever think that Iran is winning this war? In fact, we are so much winning this war that we're flying archaic aircraft to drop bombs now. We're having helicopters engaged and warthogs, which if you know what that is, it's the A-10, A-12, whatever, A-10, I think. Warhogs. We're not losing the war, guys. This is not someone who has the pure capabilities like us. The reason why we're fighting this war, or military action, or whatever you want to call it, is because we're told, and I think this is such a vindication, and how people can't see that this is such a vindication. George Bush, weapons of mass destruction. We go in, oh wait, there probably was no weapons of mass destruction. Trump goes, yeah, they're going to use their missiles to hit Europe, or at least you're going to have the capability of doing that. And it was like, no, they would never do that. They're pretty close to getting a nuclear bomb. Oh, no, they're not. We found out they were extremely close to a nuclear bomb, even after we bombed them. Even after we bombed Fordo and all those. And then we find out, oh yes, they actually did have medium-range missiles that were going after our base on, I forgot the island, and I just had said it the other day. On the island, Diego Garcia Island, which would have gotten them to most of Europe. In fact, they could have hit England from Iran with that missile. That's how insanely far that is. Literally proven that exactly what he said, the reasons for going in, were exactly the situation as it is. And in fact, we know that there's large shipments of coming from China going into Iran to give them even more help, more strength, more fuel for everything that they possibly needed or could need. They were a threat, and they had to be taken out. And here's something that we need to know, and I had mentioned this in my intro. There's a report going around from the AOE. AOE? Is it AOE? What am I saying? United Arab Emirates, UAE. And AOE is Age of Empires, which was a fun game. But talking about how if we don't solve this problem, they just might. Meaning they might just invade and take it out in their own hands. Because they realize just how bad this serpent in their midst is. And they understand, like Americans don't seem to understand, that we can't just let the serpent sit there ready to bite us and strike us at any time it wants to. We have to defeat it. We have to get it out and make that area. If Iran was gone, that entire area becomes so free and so prosperous. It would be wild. It would be staggering. Right now, the reals to the dollar is something like 1.5 million reals to a dollar. If you could do that trade, we could get them to a healthy economy if we rip out these garbage, trashy human beings who call themselves their leaders. And we're almost there. Now, before you go, information like this is extremely important, which is why I say this over and over and over again. We have to make sure we're pushing good content out there into the area so that people aren't getting addicted to weird stuff, right? They're not crashing mentally, but they're able to get the information that they need to help them to learn where we are at in the world and what the outlook of the world really is. and biblically based. And that's why I started Ripple Effect. Let's help push it out there. Do me a favor. Like, comment, and subscribe, and push it out there so that others share it with others so that we can continue to grow. Thank you so much for watching.